Okay, so I want to talk about something I'm not supposed to talk about. Essentially, running red lights on a bicycle. And, really no one should do it. I mean, I'll say that. But I'm going to actually talk about biking by feel in a different video. And when you feel what's going on, everything is safe. When you're in sync, like when you're in sync with your environment, right? But right now, I'm just going to talk about running red lights, and it's an interesting story actually. So generally, I don't run red lights. I mean, I stop at red lights my whole life. I'm like 50 now, but like in my mid 40s, something changed, right? So I would always stop at a red light. If there's no traffic, I just go, but it's safe, stuff like that. What I'm talking about here is just running a red light, not even, really like not dropping too much speed, just going with traffic going both ways, lots of traffic. Just I've learned to do it. It's kind of neat. So this is not something anybody wants to replicate. I'm just sharing this out there because it's interesting actually. I didn't know about this. So where does the story begin? The story begins. So I was teaching in Hawaii, which was like the worst job in the world, it turns out. And so I quit my job, came back to Greensboro, didn't know what to do. So I got a job delivering sandwiches for Jimmy John's. Why? Well, I wanted to do that. It's like, that's a cool job for me. And so I'm doing it. Not, I didn't understand it, but this little sandwich, just having a sandwich is the biggest motivator I've ever had in my life. It's like I go out and I bike and, I always bike, I do my thing, but I don't go as fast unless I have this thing like a sandwich or something somebody needs to eat. It's crazy. I go so fast. And so that motivator makes you do some neat stuff, makes you learn. And so eventually I like, it's just funny. I just go right through every red light, every red light. And the funny thing is, there's always a path. That's the funny thing I learned. And in Greensboro, like downtown has a couple major streets, Market Street and Friendly Avenue. I think it's Friendly Avenue, actually. And they're 3 and 4 lanes each. And so, and I ran through them like 5 to 10 times a day for 8 months. It's like I just ran through that stuff. Oh, like all the time, Yeah, I would work 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, lunch rush. And yeah, all the coworkers thought I was nuts. But it turns out there's always a path. That's the neat thing. When you just analyze what's going on, you might have to drop a little speed before you enter the intersection, with traffic going, but you can always make it. The interesting dynamic is cars are like scared of bikes like crazy or something like that. And if a bike enters the intersection, these cars are just going to like either get out of the way or drop speed or just whatever. Usually I try to make sure that I would never have make so no cars have to change their speed or direction or anything. I didn't want to disturb the environment I'm in. I just wanted to just do it, right? It doesn't make sense to just get in somebody's way and make the car crash, all that nonsense. No, I wanted to have fun and not disturb anything around me. Right? So these cars are going, I'm just trying to, move through it. I found there's always a path. One exception, really one exceptional situation, really, really freaked me out actually. And that's what I wanted to finish off the story with. So I think it was Friendly Avenue. I think it's Avenue. I think I wrote Street. But anyway, so Friendly Avenue, I'm like going and doing my standard, run the red light nonsense. So I got a sandwich. I love Jimmy John's. I still remember to this day exactly. And every interaction I have is unique and independent. And I look at all the cars and all the stuff, and I see 3 lanes of traffic in my mind and 1 lane of parked cars, which is like, okay, that's fine. That was my evaluation. Well, my evaluation on that day was wrong. The parked car lane was actually moving. It turned out like it got a little crazy. So I made that evaluation. I entered the intersection and there were cars going. And I always understood, I could always loop back, and you always have an out. You always have to have a path, number one, and an out, number two. You need two different, just in case your path closes, you need some way to get out. Well, as soon as I entered the intersection, my out disappeared because the cars were actually moving behind me. I'm like, whoa, that was weird. I didn't anticipate that. I did not know that was moving traffic. I just didn't know. And the funny thing is, I needed that out because some serious traffic right in front of me. It was like, oh my God, this is wild. As soon as I saw my out closed, I was like, I'm in a load of crap right now because this is not good. But I had no out. I mean, I had to go. You know what I mean? You can't just, I guess I could fall or some nonsense and beg for help. I don't know about that one. But I went for it, had a small window of opportunity. I made it through. And I'm like, man, did I get lucky, right? I'm like, man, did I get, and everybody's staring at me like, dude, they all thought I had the biggest balls on earth. They didn't know I screwed up as royally as I could have ever screwed up. It was really funny. I'm like, I'm not that tough. I'm actually big mistake. So make sure you evaluate properly. Make sure you have, if you're going to do things, you make sure you have a path. And the paths open up. That's the funny thing. They always open up. They might not be visible instantly, but they happen. As you go, they open up. But you always have to have an out. You can't just go for something. If it doesn't open up, you're in trouble. But the rule is generally you have to have two options. Always have to be able to bail out of it. All right. So thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it.